Right guys, so we're up to damp level everywhere. Now we need to start getting this base prepared. So the first thing we need to do is, it's got to be a nice little scrape, and it's roughly around 400 mil. Need it between 350 and 400 mil below your damp course level, so that you can fit 150 mil of MOT, 100 mil insulation, and then 150 mil of concrete, as well as the damp proof membranes in between, but I'll show you that when we get to it. So the first step we need to do is to get some MOT down.
For that bit we're going to be using this MOT that Nave's kindly shoveling on his birthday. So we've got just short of 10 tonne there. We've got that dropped off by the same company that we use that does the digging out for us. So they'll come and they tip it off on the trailer, and it's just a bit cheaper that way than buying it in the bulk bags. So that is the first thing that will be going down. That's MOT, and it'll be 150 mil thick.
Another thing that you need to get in as well is, because that's an old timber floor inside, you want to make sure you maintain the airflow which is going to go through, so you don't get dry rot with your floor joist inside. So this is a telescopic air vent. There'll be an air brick there, and obviously we put this 4-inch underground pipe in there which will send the airflow straight through. So obviously we're going to cover this now with the stone. So we've got one there,
and then we've also got another one here. I've had to put a slight bend on that because that's actually concrete floor in there. And just smash 2 holes out so it goes through. So another thing that we've had done, which is obviously seen, is this steel column which has been fitted on the internal course, and we've actually had these wall starters. We've dropped them off with the steel manufacturer, and then he welds them to the steel, so when the bricklayers start they can fit their blockwork in between and tie that in to the steel. Obviously we just put that rainwater pipe and sat it on there, which has worked pretty good. So this basically, we're going to have another one of these steel columns up against that window frame there, and then a steel will sit across and sit on top of that, and then it'll also be being knocked through right across there, so the full backhand side will be out. So for this now, we've dug this hole out now because we need to have a 1200 wide by 1200 wide by, I think that's 1200 deep as well. So we're going to fill this with concrete and put the concrete base over the top of it so it'll all form as one, and then when we do the knock through, we'll take these bricks out and dig that hole on that side of it, and then we'll put some bars into the side of this concrete. We'll drill into this concrete and put some resin fix some threaded bar into it, so that when we do pour the concrete again on that side, it'll all be formed as one big slab, and then that, or one big pad should I say, and then that will sit another one of those steel columns on there. But I'll show you more on that when we get to it. For now, obviously, we're just concentrating on prepping the slab. So we've got quite a bit of stone in so far. Like I say, this is 150 mil thick. We'll finish this bit now, and then we'll get the whacker plate out and start getting it all compacted. What you just want to do when you're getting your stone in, you want to get it to the right height. So on top of this MOT, we're going to have 100 mil of insulation and then 150 mil concrete. There will be a bit of sand in there as well, which I'll show you. So we know that we want to be at least 250 mil down from the top of that concrete block all the way around. So rather than just tipping your barriers everywhere, you want to sort of form it to the right height everywhere, so then when your next wheelbarrow comes full of stone, you don't need to be like raking it and dragging it and fighting with the stone. You can just put your next barrier there, nice little brush
up to that, and then it just sort of levels itself all the way around. It's far easier. Just stick that one there, mate.
Yeah.
Straight there now. That's it. Nice. So now I can just fill that little section in there now. And wait for the next barrow again.
Download this, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll whack down quite a bit as well. It's just easier than if you've got it coming and then you're like this and it's just a dead thin like pile everywhere. You've got nothing to work with, so by doing it this way, it's just easier. Keep it nice and flat as you can. And once we've got the full area covered, we'll get the whacker plate out and give it all a good whack to compact it. And then after that we'll be putting a thin layer of sand down. Technically it's meant to be 50mm, but really the sand is only to stop the damp membrane from getting ripped from the stone. So we just put a little scattering over, probably about 25mm, and then whack that down again, and then your membrane will roll on top of that. That'll be your first layer of membrane. Same again, mate, just there. Yeah, so it'll be 150mm of stone, compact and whack that, a layer of sand, whack that, your 1200 gauge damp membrane, that'll get fully lipped up the walls, lipped up your new walls and over onto the internal blockwork, and then you'll have 100mm insulation which will sit inside, and you'll tape all your joints up with a silver tape. Then you'll put the second layer of damp membrane. Doesn't need to be as thick, that one, but we still use a 1200 gauge. Again, lip that over your walls, and then finish with 150mm concrete, which will be tamped nice and level with this blockwork.
So we've got all the MOT down now. You want to get it as flat as you can, just using the rake and just using your eye. And like I say, we are about 250mm down from the blockwork all the way around. That will whack down a bit then, which will give you a bit more space to get your sand blending on top of this. But we're 250 down, so it's 100mm of concrete, and then 100mm of insulation, sorry, and 150mm of concrete. So you're going to be aiming for the 250 mark. Now you've got all the stone down.
a bit of whack. So you can see the difference in that compared to what hasn't been whacked. So that's why it's nice to try and keep it as flat as you can, so when you do whack it, it goes down nice and flat then and it stays flat. So this bit now, this bit is just the sand blinding, and like I say, this is literally just to stop your damp membrane from ripping. So if you was to roll the damp membrane over the stone, obviously with us walking on it and stuff, you probably would get little holes in it. So the sand is purely for stopping the membrane from ripping. So, but you want to try and rake it nice and flat still. So we'll get the sand down, rake it as flat as you can, and then that'll get whacked again, and then the insulation will be going on this. So if your sand isn't quite flat, your insulation can start to rock a little bit. So it is quite important to get this as flat as you can, basically. Right, now that you've got the sand all whacked down, next we're just going to be rolling this 1200 gauge damp membrane out. Obviously just to stop any damp from rising from underneath and rising up into your new slab. So we'll just get this rolled out. You want to start rolling it? Does open up. We will open it all up and it will just sit over the wall like this, and then that'll get built into the internal blockwork. Right, so you've got all of the damp membrane down. Now it's time to get fitting this PIR insulation board. So this is 100mm thick. We're going to be putting that throughout now. So all you need to cut that with is a standard saw. So just mark it up. Ideally what I use an old saw, I just have to go and buy a brand new saw for this. Isn't ideal. And then you can use that level. It's a straight edge. Try and fit it so it's nice and tight, not too tight. You don't want any big gaps. will be using this silver tape, which is an aluminium foil tape, which we'll be doing all of the joints with as well once we've got everything down. So yeah, we'll just crack on and get this down.
Once you've got it all down, you just want to stick the tape down and cover all of the joints up. So once you've got all the insulation down and it's all taped up, something I didn't mention as well was you need to put a 25mm PIR insulation board all the way around the perimeter. Only on the new walls. You don't have to do it on the existing, but all the way around. Effectively, it's just giving a bit of a thermal bridge between the brickwork and obviously where your new concrete slab will form. So once you've got all that down, you need to put the second layer of damp membrane down. Like I say, you don't need to use a thick 1200 gauge like this, but if you've already bought the roll, you may as well just use it for the first layer and the second layer. That's what we always do anyway. So then on top of that, now concrete guys are on the way. You'll just fit your concrete. So we've got 150mm thick of concrete there, which will run flush with the existing floor levels.
So just to clarify what we've got, when you first get this dug out, you want to be 400mm below your finished floor level. So wherever your internal floor level is there, you want to be 400mm below that. To have 150mm of stone, MOT that you will compact, a little layer of sand, which will stop your damp membrane from ripping, a 1200 gauge damp membrane, 100mm of insulation, PIR insulation, with a 25mm perimeter upstand all the way around the brickwork, and then a second layer of damp membrane over the top of that, and then 150mm of concrete. And that's you then. And remember to put your air bricks in for airflow to get to the existing if you've got a timber floor inside. And that's pretty much it, I think. So yeah, we'll get on with the concrete now because that'll be here any minute. Right, so once you've got it a little bit something like, obviously we had 3 guys barrowing then on the barrows. So if you stop to start tamping it, and they just keep tipping barrows behind you, but just leave it all piled up. So I like to try and work it and get it as flat as you can all the way around, just using the rake, get it as level as you can with your eye. Obviously you know you go into the top of this all the way around, so you can tamp it to that and then just try and find your natural level, and then obviously this side we know we're going just underneath that sill. So once you've got that like that, you can get a tamp. Just give it a tamp like this. Ideally you want a bigger tamp so you can hold it a bit better, but it's the only one I had here. And then if it's starting to get a bit high, you want to just spots, you can just give it a little saw. again at that side we know we'll go into there because we can see the actual floor level there. So see we're flush with that old floor level now. We can just scrape it to that.
Right, so we've got that all in now, and you can see it's looking pretty flat. Take it off there. There we go. So it's flat enough, it's nice and tamped, it's flush with our damp course. It's flush with the existing floor, so you could leave it like that. You don't want any like little bumps or anything, just because it'll mess it up when you come to put your floor covering on. If you was having tiles or whatever, you could go over that. But if you're going to go for like an LVT floor, this will get screeded anyway. But what I always like to do, just try and get it. I like to get it nice and smooth. Did used to use a trowel as we was going along, so you tamp it and then go over it with a trowel, but I usually just get it done till the end and then just use a straight edge, use a 6 foot level and just give it a little smooth. That's pretty much it. Just gets rid of any high bits you might have in it. So there we go, it's the end of that video. It's a bit of a graft on your own, so if you can get someone to help you, it would be easier. But obviously equally, it can be done as well. So that's it, that's a ground bearing slab from start to finish, complete. So now, the next stage is for the bricklayers to come back, and then they can just carry on and get all of the walls built up to roof height for us. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned a little bit. Cheers.